We begin with a decade of drama now over the goal line. David Beckham's Major League Soccer dreams in Miami came down to a few tense hours at the Miami Commission this week. Star power, power brokering, public promises, behind-the-scenes negotiations, and only in Miami-style drama on the dais. In the end, the vote was, as predicted from the beginning, 4 of 5 Miami commissioners gave the green light to proceed with the billion-dollar private redevelopment of the public Melreese Golf Course into a soccer-centric entertainment, hotel, and business complex, the eventual home to Inter-Miami MLS Soccer. David Beckham is the celebrity headliner, but the real star of this business show is his Miami partner, Jorge Mas, spearheading the deal and the development, and right here with us live. Jorge, great to see you. Thanks so much for being with us.
It's my pleasure, Glenna. Great to see you once again.
So I have a lot of questions today, and for anyone watching what went on, I mean, you know, people are pretty familiar with the deal and the question and the renderings we've seen of this idea to turn this billion-dollar investment into a complex of sports and entertainment. And so I guess the real question is, what went on behind the scenes on Thursday in the Miami Commission that made you walk out into the commission chambers pretty sure you had those 4 out of 5 yeses?
Well, Glenna, first of all, you know, my confidence and my optimism preceded Thursday. But I went into Thursday very confident for one primary reason. You know, 4 years ago, or you know, almost 4 years ago, the voters had spoken. You know, we took this project and this idea to the voters of the city of Miami, and in resounding fashion, you know, with over 60% of the vote, gave us a go-ahead to negotiate with the city of Miami. It was long, it was drawn out, it was, you know, 3.5 years of negotiation. But what was especially satisfying to me was also the reaction of the residents, you know, around the Melreese facility in the future Miami Freedom Park, which were the residents of District 1. You know, I've had multiple conversations with them. I think that they've been very well represented by Commissioner Diaz de la Portilla. And really what happened on Thursday leading up to that was the commissioners, you know, Commissioner Carollo, Commissioner King, Commissioner Diaz de la Portilla, as well as Commissioner Russell, you know, getting the best deal for the voters and the residents of the city of Miami. There was a lot of moving pieces here. I think the structure and the elements of the deal were always there, which is a 100% privately financed private development and stadium that is unprecedented in the landscape of American sports. And it's a project that will derive 2 major components that I think are important and can get lost on what we're doing. We're going to create the largest park in the city of Miami. We're going to deliver a 58-acre park open to the public, where families and future generations of Miamians can go there and enjoy the outdoors, green space. And in addition to that, you know, it's going to be generating significant revenue to the city of Miami through the ground lease, through taxes, through property taxes, and most importantly, through economic development. This is a project that's going to generate over 15,000 jobs. It's going to create, in the initial term of 39 years, over $11 billion in direct and indirect labor benefits. So I think when you look at the project of as whole, at a whole, the structure was there. But I'm very happy that, you know, all of the commissioners had their ask for their districts, you know, from Commissioner Diaz de la Portilla, to make sure that, you know, the impact, any impact on this is not only mitigated, but becomes positive by investing dollars in District 1, you know, with Commissioner King and Commissioner Carollo and others. I think this is something that, you know, is going to benefit all of the city of Miami districts and community.
You know, I have to tell you, in reporting this for what feels like 10 years now, but I know it's been the last 3 where the rubber has hit the road. But in reporting this, we've really heard the opposition is not to you, it's not to the team, it's not about the plan. The opposition was really to the elected officials to get the kind of best deal. And then there is just general philosophical opposition for private enterprise on public land. And I know you've heard all of those things. And you've also heard the cliche, the devil is in the details. And I will say, you do have a site. Miami Freedom Park has a site with pretty fair transparency on what's happening. But the real opposition that we've heard is that people are just afraid of what goes on behind the scenes. And so I wonder if you could dig in a little bit into maybe some of the promises that you made and the asks that you got that you didn't fill. What was there a commissioner who asked for something besides parks, besides jobs and union participation and green space that the team and you really didn't think you were able to come up to?
Yes, and let me go into those details. I think it's important. And listen, we can't lose sight of that. The crux of this is to bring Inter Miami back to its city, back into its city, to its proper home. But let's go into the details, Glenna, because I think those are important, and I'd like to share this with the residents. And as I said on the dais of the city of Miami 3.5 years ago, we're going to be completely transparent in this process. As you well alluded to, we've had a website where every single document, draft, negotiation, communications have been on our website for everyone to see from day one. One of the things, and listen, we've all heard, and naysayers and doubts. Some people say it's too good to be true. Some people say, oh, Mas and Beckham, what they said 3.5 years ago, they're not going to come through on. Every single thing and every single item that we committed to 3.5 years ago is in this proposed lease. We're going to come through on every single one of our commitments to the city. I was born and I grew up here. I'm not going anywhere. I love my city and the city of Miami, but to go into the details, a lot of questions arose about, what is the fair market value of the land? Because as I stood and as the agreement and the referendum said that, we would pay fair market value for the land, knowing that is a contaminated site, knowing that it's going to take substantial cleanup, it's going to take substantial dollars of investment and infrastructure to have it as what we usually think of a comparable piece of land, because as it is today, you can build absolutely nothing on the Mel Reese golf course. So, the city of Miami went out and hired 2 nationally recognized appraisal firms and a peer review firm. And this was in September of 2019, and they went ahead and conducted 2 appraisals. The number that came out of the peer review was $2.3 million a year, which approximates, a land value of approximately $60 to $70 million to put it in terms that I think all of us can understand. But the referendum said $3.6 million in minimum rent. So we were paying 57% over fair market value, and granted as of September in 2019.
And we're getting a new appraisal now because of
yes, we are.
The years that have passed. Yeah. So we don't know that number yet, do we?
Well, no, but we do know a minimum rent number. And let me get into it. I think it's important. We will pay fair market value for the land, and whatever that number ends up being. One of the things that the commissioners, and it was important, especially to Commissioner Carollo, was increasing the minimum rent irrespective of where, the appraisals came out. So it's, we're going to be paying, a minimum of $4.3 million with escalators, over the life of the lease. To put that into perspective, over 99 years, that's going to be, around approximately $3.5 billion in lease payments. Just to put that into contrast with the Marlins deals, the taxpayers are paying $2.4 million through a bond issue. So it's a $6 billion swing on deals. But, we are going to have 2 appraisals, as is clean. So these appraisals aren't taking into account the fact that the property is impaired and limited, because it is. There's limitations of use, there's limitations of height, very restricted what you can do there. You can put no residential. And the things that are going to go on the property, entertainment district, which includes retail and F&B, hotels and office, is the holy trinity of what was affected by COVID. So, those appraisals will come in. It's going to be, whatever the average of the 2 appraisals are, and we'll move on. So our commitment to pay fair market value stands. I think that was something the commissioners wanted and emphasized to me, which frankly, I'm in agreement to, because I think that's the right way, the right way to do this deal. The other asset that came through the commission, for example, all of the commissioners wanted, everybody wanted more, right? Like I want more money, I want stricter terms, I want the money up front. And the one thing, Glenna, that's important is this has to become a project that's buildable, that's viable. We cannot create hurdles that make this an impossible project to build and to construct, because as I've said numerous times, the hard part is actually building it and getting it done.
And I hate to interrupt you, but
yes, go ahead.
It's important for people to understand 2 things, I think. One, the no bid component of this deal is, you know, a lot of people are looking at you as a very well-connected businessman with deep roots in the community who gets special favors. I know that possibly is a portion of what's going on here, but there's also the no bid component that there was no other MLS soccer team available. You and David Beckham had that team. But that aside, is there the complex that's going around the soccer stadium is your financing ability to not take public money. Is that correct? I mean, you need that portion to pay for what you're doing.
Well, yes. I mean, stadiums on their own don't work. They don't work economically, financially. I don't think they're economic generators for the city. And Glenn, let me address the no bid issue because I think it's important. When we presented this plan 3.5 years ago, we had two options. One was to have an RFP and put it out for bid, and the other one was to ask the voters of Miami for permission to a no bid process. And that's the route we chose at that time, thinking it would be faster, but we chose that route. So we asked the city of Miami residents, will you allow us to sit with the city of Miami and negotiate a deal on a no bid basis? That is exactly what the referendum said. So I think that there is no better way to get permission to do something in no bid than go directly to the voters. That's direct democracy. So on that note, yes.
Let me just interrupt you to take a quick break. We have a couple of things to talk about when we come back, but we need to take a quick commercial break. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Thank you. Thank you.
We are back with Jorge Mas, Inter Miami's owner, who won the ability to go forward with the $1 billion Miami Freedom Park this week. Jorge, we were talking about the referendum, about the vote that put this into motion 3 years ago. 10 years ago, I think my kids were still in high school when we were at the PAM, when you first made this announcement with David Beckham. And before we go on, where was David Beckham at that commission meeting? He wasn't there for the yes.
No, he wasn't there for the yes, but he had been here the 3 previous times before we got the meetings postponed. But David was in London watching, following the meeting, sending texts and tears. So David is extremely ecstatic. It's been a journey for him since he decided to join Major League Soccer when he came over from Real Madrid to play at the LA Galaxy. I'm very appreciative to him to believe in Miami because he chose Miami. He believes in this city. And the reason that all of this is happening is because this is, initially and originally David Beckham's dream. So
he got a crash course in Miami politics over the past decade or so.
Yeah, yes, he did. Only in Miami.
So let's go back to I want to get from you sort of the timeline in reading the details of the lease, which is changing based on Thursday. So the timeline now, is it fair to say it's going to be years before the remediation is done on the toxic land and you can even put a shovel in for development? What is the timeline now?
The next steps are we go through zoning and planning. So there's a special area plan approval. Frankly, we have already started that process with the city. So that's been some months, and there have been comments and a significant amount of work that's gone into that. But we anticipate that the ability for us to get on site and start the remediation will take anywhere from 6 to 8 months. So, we're hoping and targeting that, by the end of the year or very, very early in 23, we can start the remediation work. Because the first work that we have to do is clean up the site, deliver all of the infrastructure, deliver the public park before we start vertical construction on the stadium. So there is a process now for 6 to 8 months. That we're going to be going through zoning and approval and entitlements. So there's still a little time before we start the construction on the site.
Is there any doubts that you have, because this is a pretty complicated process from the get-go, a lot of moving parts, 3D chess. Is there any doubt that you're going to run up against the kind of issue that will prevent you from building or doing what you had planned? And sort of the hidden question in that question is, the city getting its remuneration and its tax revenue and its component of this deal. What are the challenges and the doubts that you may have?
There's going to be several challenges. There's going to be a lawsuit over this process, over the referendum. The typical people who file lawsuits against really, most City of Miami projects. I don't think that'll delay us. We'll just go through that process. I think they'll be very short in nature. Our interests are aligned with the City of Miami. Glenna, we all want this project built as quickly as possible. in order to, have the economic benefits and jobs start generating. My one ask on Thursday, which I think was very clear and was addressed, was we need an expedited permit process. We need to be able to go there and not face, unfortunately, the delays sometimes that are faced in getting building permits and getting plans through. So if we have the ability to work closely with the city, which I'm 100% confident we will, and able to get expedited permits and be able to go out and stay on top of this project, I have a target date that I'd like to see the opening of the 2025 season at the Miami Freedom Park Stadium, which will start in March. I'd love to target to finish in late 24, have a good portion of the entertainment district and hotel and activities open, so that there's something fun to do at Miami Freedom Park. So that's our schedule. There is no doubt going to be obstacles. No doubt. There's going to be curveballs. But again, we're gonna work diligently. We're gonna work hard. We don't give up easily. A lot of people, would tell me, Jorge, this has got really too hard. It's been 3 years. Why do you keep pushing? And listen, I push because I believe in this vision. I believe it's something transformational for our city. I think it's fantastic. And there was one resident 3.5 years ago when I walked the neighborhood that told me something that still stays with me today. And she said, why not us? And that struck me. And she said, why can't we have a nice park and an entertainment district and a place where my grandchildren can get a good paying job? That's what drives us, Glenna. And again, the vision of representing the voters, bringing Major League Soccer to Miami, doing something fun that our residents can enjoy is something that, we're going to work diligently on. And we tend to be stubborn, so we'll fight through all the obstacles.
All right, so one more from the vision to the detail. One more question: the not only locally but federally, you're next to Miami International Airport. Height
Yes.
restrictions, noise restrictions, environmental restrictions. Have you cleared this federally and done the due diligence with the planning that you won't have to change anything relative to the airport?
Well, we've had, a significant amount of communication with, the FAA on one side and the aviation authorities here locally, because it's important, number one, that we be a great neighbor and make sure that the economic engine that is the airport in Miami-Dade County, actually is enhanced by this and there's no interruptions. We've changed the design of the development in the stadium because of some of the height issues. We have some experience in building a stadium next to an airport. Our stadium in Fort Lauderdale is actually located closer to a runway at Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport than this will be to Miami International. The architect on our project, Manica, built the Las Vegas Stadium, which is adjacent to the Las Vegas Airport. So we have significant experience in how we deal with an airport. We want to be a great neighbor. There can be no issues. That's the way that we've conducted this project. And yes, we've had communications, and I'm very, very confident that any issues can be mitigated, dealt with no interruption to the project whatsoever.
Jorge Mas, Inter Miami owner, so great to see you and so grateful for your time today. And we will be, watching every step of the way, and so will our sports department. Great
Thank
to
you,
have
Glenna.
you on the show. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you as always.